everyone, welcome back to the Malbeefance channel. This is episode 19 of our series replay for Strategic Command American Civil War. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it as things are heating up all across the fronts. And I've got the map here centered on Onslow Bay due to the surprise, or at least mostly surprise arrival of a Confederate monitor, the Atlanta, that is harassing the blockade. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let's end the turn, see what we get. Union celebrates the capture of Dresden. Slowly pushing down in between the Tennessee and Mississippi rivers there. War Department reports spying and intelligence up to 100%, so that gives us intelligence level 3. That helps with research speed, amongst other things. Union develops logistics level 4. There is our ledger for next turn. And calculating supplies for the Confederacy. What do we get? All right, so another Confederate river ironclad on the Tennessee. And it looks like forces pulling back from the Cumberland and from northern Virginia. Are we seeing the end of those offensives that we've been dealing with the last two turns? So I've been putting a lot of effort into General Pope's Army of the Cumberland in order to push on Nashville. It looks like, excuse me, it looks like it is paying off. And I say that as we lose a gunboat on the blockade line. Yeah, all right, so the division in Clarksville is not giving up without a fight. I guess the last train hasn't left yet. Okay, so some more fighting along the Mississippi. And the usual push for Fort Thorne. But it doesn't look as robust as it usually is. There doesn't seem to be anything happening in Missouri other than some minor movement. Alright, push on Fort Thorne might not have been a good move. Difficult to get supply into these hills. So was that a second ironclad I saw over there by Wilmington? France launches new offensives aiming to control Puebla and Tabasco in Mexico. Okay, so Far S made a great joke in the comments section. The French fries are trying to get the jalapenos. That's the whole point of the entire French invasion of Mexico. All right, so there was our blockade report, and now calculating supplies for our side. That turn didn't go to Aroostook gunboat sunk. Yep. And there is our activity summary. All right, intelligence reports an engineer spotted at Cartersville in Georgia and a brigade spotted at Christiansburg in Virginia. There's also going to be one at Wyville. All right, so who is this? 9th Corps. All right, so I do need to get more aggressive in northern Virginia. However, with that said, we've got an advantage over here in the Central Theater, so I'm going to add 9th Corps to Halleck. And with that, that's all of our reinforcements. So let's go ahead, and as I usually do, I'll start with naval operations. We'll start down here in the Gulf and just swap out my gunboats so that the ones that are getting low on supply, they can resupply. Move over here to Fort Jackson. Or excuse me, Fort Jefferson. All right, and now the crisis zone. Now, luckily, the monitors, the Confederate monitors, they have been concentrating on Onslow Bay. They've almost got all of my gunboats wiped out. Now, unfortunately, my monitors are out of position. Just bad timing on my part, sending them back to get repaired. So let's move the gunboats away a little bit. Try and set up a little bit of an ambush there. I know it wouldn't be wise for me to move more gunboats into the area, but I've got to try and maintain the blockade. Go ahead and reinforce that Marine division while I'm at it. Alright, it wouldn't do me any good to go ahead and rush the monitors back down there when they need to be reinforced. So I'll take the hit. And then let's go ahead and move on to the Northern Virginia, the Eastern Theater. So we'll continue to put pressure on Vicksburg. This allows me to get Reynolds' headquarters into Alexandria. That'll help with supply. Now, real quick, another comment that was made was concerning supply. And I don't usually do this during the episodes because I want to try and keep them relatively quick, but I do actually look at the reports and things like that in between episodes because, like, let me show you real quick here in case anybody doesn't know. You go ahead and hit the S button and it shows what your supply is for any given hex. Okay, and then if you hit it a second time, it'll show you what your supply can expand out to if you're able to advance and occupy other hexes. Okay, so now I do look at that, but I usually do that in between episodes just in order to keep things quick. Another thing that I like to look at in between episodes is right here, the losses reports. So, like, if you remember several episodes back, I popped this up and showed how the Confederacy had me outnumbered in ground units, and now over the last couple of turns, we've managed to swing that around. You can actually look at now this is existing units that are on the board. You can also look at losses, and then there's detailed loss, okay, which heavily favors the Union side. But I'll use that along with this particular graph right here on how much production points are being brought in. So it's showing the overall collected income versus what is spent and what is lost. Now, lost doesn't include it includes more than just units that are destroyed in the field. It also includes losses to units short of being wiped out. So like if a unit loses 2-3 points, that'll show here. And what I can do looking at this, comparing it to the side I'm playing, okay, going back and forth between the two, I get an idea of what is being spent, how much is being spent. I just don't know what it's being spent on, but it gives me an idea. So, and then there's a whole bunch of other graphs that you can look at. I'm sure you've seen those before. those of you that have played the game. But I do. I go ahead and I look at these in between episodes in order to get an idea, try and get an idea of what the other side is doing. I just don't normally display them uh, during the episode, as I had mentioned, in order to keep the episodes, try and keep them short and sweet if I can. All right, so enough about that. Back over to the Eastern Theater. So now I'd like to go ahead and push closer to Fredericksburg, but this is a trap right here. 3 divisions just waiting for somebody to move into this hex. So I'm not going to do it, but I will move here. That way I've got my own trap in return. And then I'll push back up on Brandywine Station. Move General Banks up to help with supply. Being the headquarters unit being in the towns and cities helps better than having them out on the road by themselves, if you haven't already figured that out. And then I'll leave this hex empty so that if necessary, either the Ozark Mountain Division or this brigade have a way to retreat. So now we've managed to make some gains again over in the Shenandoah Valley, but I still think there's a pretty heavy cavalry force. At the very least, it's these 2 cavalry divisions, and there may be a third. So instead of trying to push back up towards Harrisonburg, I'm going to hold off and reinforce these divisions, or reinforce these units. And then I'm going to move the cavalry back to see if I can't set up a surprise. All right, so that is going to take care of the Eastern Theater for now. Let me go back down here. There is one more thing I want to do. Have the Marine Corps divisions advance again. And that gets me to within 4 hexes of Richmond. So we'll see what kind of a response we get there. All right, so that's going to do it for Tidewater and the Eastern Theater. I am going to move this brigade back down towards Lewisburg so that hopefully they can reinforce. I know 1 point of damage to the unit might not seem like a whole lot, but let me go ahead and take the chance to reinforce while I can. Before I move that artillery up, let's go ahead and do this. I was hoping to get him just a little bit closer, so that way he's able to attack next turn. But while we are in the position, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and take out the infantry corps in Springfield. The Army of the Cumberland's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this game, along with the Army of the Potomac, and I think it's really paying off. Okay, so all of these divisions, they've got equal odds against the infantry corps. So let's go ahead and send Dino's division in first. And it was 6 for 4, but still, division against a corps, I'm happy. 15th Wisconsin, can they finish them off? Yes, they do. And they only take 2 damage in the process. So we'll move Judy Kim division into Springfield to occupy Springfield. Let me get Dino's division out of there so they're not exposed. Now, do I want to go after Clarksville or do I want to isolate Clarksville? Now, let's go ahead and go after Clarksville because they're already damaged from their attack last turn. And yes, we are able to take the town, or wipe out the division there. I have Priestlock Division move up. And now, do we have enough left over? I think we do. Can anybody? Yep. All right, so Borowitz Division moves up, and can they finish him off? All right. Okay, so that pushes, except for this brigade down here in Carthage, that pushes the Army of the Tennessee out of Kentucky. And now I'll have Far Est Division guard the crossing, the river crossing, while reinforcing Paul's division. All right, so that is going to do it for the battle at the Cumberland River there. Let's see if we can do some damage to this Confederate gunboat. Oh, River Ironclad to be specific. All right, we got him on the run. One more hit. Awesome. See if I can get my gunboats back out of there. There we go. All right. All right, so that brings us to General Grant's army. I'd love to go ahead and try and cut off Canty's division here. So it looks like we can. Now, can the gunboats do any? Yes, they can. So I'll let these gunboats do what damage they can. Can we prevent him from escaping? Yes, we can. Awesome. So Maria Rodriguez division goes ahead and gives the coup de grace. Go ahead and reforce him. Garrison Dresden. And then move General Grant up. Well, let me go ahead and take 0-0, but alright. I'll leave him there. Now, I'm not going to advance on the fort yet. Are they still within? He is. He's under Halleck's umbrella, but he's not. I'd have to move Halleck down a hex or two. We'll hang on until I can get more forces down there ready to advance. Whoops. Mario Alberto division, get them down there. Who's that? Paul Wallace division. So yeah, so all three of these divisions together will go after Hopefield. Hopefully I'll be able to use the gunboats and these two brigades to go ahead and take out Fort Pillow. If not, then I'll have Grant's forces move on it to assist. All right, I think that takes care of the central theater. Other than I want to bring this cavalry brigade back. I don't want them exposed out there with a whole infantry corps right there. All right, so moving on to the Western Theater, that Confederate infantry division moved out into the woods here. So let's go ahead, see if we can spot them. There they are. So they can't be doing good on supplies. So let's go ahead and increase their woes. And in the meantime, and see if we can take P Ridge again. I wonder how many times that town has changed hands this game. I'm sure we're not done yet. And sure enough, there we go. All right. So we got P Ridge back. There's nobody in Fayetteville. Can I get Fayetteville? Awesome. All right, so we'll continue to just hold the line here over in the Indian territories. Actually, let's go ahead and switch them. Because Riley's Rangers are low on supply, whereas the Sioux Indian Division, Cavalry Division, they've still got a decent supplies up until next turn. So their defense will be a little bit better if the Confederate forces advance. All right, so that is it for the Western Theater. Now the Far West. So what can we do? This guy's low on supplies. That ought to help. That might not have been a good move. No, I got him to retreat and we didn't take any damage. So that was not a bad move after all. Reinforce him. Now I don't know why the Cavalry Brigade is low on supply when they're sitting right in Santa Barbara. Because they've got 6, so that should his 10 should be white, not grayed out. All right, so let's see if we can take Cook Spring. I don't believe so, but we're going to try anyway. Two to one either way. Let's go ahead. All right, got him to fall back. And let's go ahead and close that gap. I'd like to move General Carleton up, but no, let me go ahead and leave him where he's at. All right, so we're slowly pushing forward in the Far Western Theater. So what do we got? 5, 6. I think that's all the forces they have left here. There may be one more regiment. All right, so that is going to do it for operational movement and combat movement for this turn. This is my big concern right here. I got 2 Confederate ironclads, and I've only got 1 down here to counter at the moment, but at least he's not damaged. All right, so looking at research, what do we got? We got 450 points we can put into research. Where do we want to go with that? So I got corps up. Infantry equipment is up as far as it can go. So let's go ahead and speed up cavalry equipment. That leaves me 200. I've already got max in heavy mortars. So let's go ahead and I'll dump it in logistics because there's nothing there at the moment. And that'll get us moving on to maximum level 5. So that doesn't leave us a lot of points left, but I can get another division onto the map. Remember to upgrade before naming. And so that puts the John Snow Division into the pipeline. And that about does it. I'm going to order another frigate. Even though I can't get the advanced engines, I'm going to order it anyway. Going to be replacing a lot of gunboats here. All right, so that is going to do it for that turn. Let's go ahead and advance and see what we get. Union celebrates the capture of Fayetteville. Yay, team. Apache warriors raid settlements in New Mexico territory. Oh, they only hit the Confederate territory. Allegheny Arsenal in Pittsburgh is destroyed by gunpowder fire. Now, this is actually a common threat to the various arsenals throughout the Union and the Confederacy. It happened in Richmond. It happened in Pittsburgh. There's it happened in Erie. So it just you're dealing with the technology of the time versus excuse me. You're dealing with the technology of the time versus the danger that is outstripping the technology. So there is our ledger for next turn. So they just weren't entirely certain of the necessary safety regulations in dealing with munitions. And you didn't have sprinkler systems, you didn't have climate control. All those safety regulations that will eventually be written in blood, they were in their infancy back then. All right, so it looks like they're just reinforcing over in the far west theater. And lo and behold, another Confederate river ironclad. Little bit of fighting going on. So you saw there in the Western Theater and the Far West Theater, and them right there on the Mississippi, a small attack. That was not a good move. That small attack there in outside of Fredericksburg, advancing that infantry division up here was not a good idea. If they don't pull him back, I'm gonna wipe him out next turn. Gold is discovered near Salt Lake City. Thousands rush to the Utah territory. This is just one gold rush in many that occurred during this time. Alaska, Utah, Oregon. There's our blockade report. Confederate government repeals the Partisan Ranger Act as Union forces drive south. The Partisan Ranger Act was you're seeing it during the game. The bushwhackers in Missouri and Kentucky, wherever the case may be, just do what damage you can behind Union lines. And so now that act is being repealed as Union forces push further south. All right, so here is the activity summary for last turn, showing what damage we're able to do to overseas convoys. And we spotted the Christiansburg garrison again. All right, so now we got 2 corps and General Howard. So what I want to do with him, so I'm going to deploy both of these corps here along the Chesapeake Bay, and I'll use General Howard in these 2 corps. They're going to come down here and help out in Tidewater. So starting with the Navy, we'll go ahead and get those 2 gunboats repaired. And now I got to get the Canonicus down to help out the problem here off of Wilmington. All right, so where are the Confederate gunboats? We do not see them. Did he go back north? All right, I mean, I'm sure one of them's here, import getting repaired. Yep, there he is. But where'd the other one go? I wonder if he went to New Bern. All right, let me zoom the map out a little bit. Check supply on these guys. He just got there, so he's good. He's all right. He just resupplied, so let's go ahead and have these guys swap out. All right, that takes us to Fort Jefferson. What we got here? Anybody here? Yep, there's a 7. And then that takes us back over here to Mobile. All right, it is not a smart idea to have the gunboats go after the river ironclad. But I'm going to do it anyway. All right, checking supply for these guys. There's a 7. Let's get him over here. If that river ironclad comes back, I've got more units there to take him on. All right, so that is going to take care of naval operations out on the Great Big Ocean. Where do I want to go to first? Let's go ahead and start with the Far West Theater. All right, let's keep the pressure on. See if I can wipe out this regiment. Oh, we might get him. Yes. All right, now I got to get him out of that position. How we want to do this? And okay, so he's still at 6. They haven't been able to repair him. Let's go ahead and see if we can do some more damage. And that way I can bring the general up here to Cook Spring. That'll help with his umbrella coverage. Close that gap right there. All right. All right, so we're finally starting to make significant advances here in the Far West Theater. Hopefully that'll keep up. And then these two are just staring at one another over here at Fort Washita. All right, so let's go ahead and swap these two out for supply purposes. Now, do I want to advance on Van Buren? Oh, nuts. I totally forgot about General Hancock last turn. Nuts. All right, I gotta hurry up him down here to Carthage and Joplin. All right, so I got to keep somebody around Fayetteville. Yep. Let's go ahead and see if anybody's in Van Buren. Doesn't look like it. As much as I'd like to take the city, I don't want to leave that infantry brigade, or excuse me, that cavalry brigade, an opportunity to outflank any of my units. Alright, so these guys are almost out of supply. I ought to be able to knock them out, no problem. Yep. All right, so it looks like we've got a victory over on the Western Theater. We're pushing on Fort Smith now. Coming back to the Central Theater and General Halleck's forces. The Army of the Mississippi. Let's see if we can get Fort Pillow. So he got lucky. He was able to do 2 points of damage. And there we go, Fort Pillow. Move back and see if the... Yep, that infantry corps is still in Hopefield. But now we've got the forces to help counter it. So I'll move General Halleck up a little bit. See if we can't finish off this infantry brigade. Nope, unfortunately he got away from us. I mean, I can chase after him. Now I want him to stay on this side of the river. Both of those guys. Alright, so he attacked, he didn't. This is not a really good move, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'd rather expose the brigade than one of the weakened divisions. I mean, I know I can replace the divisions. I can't replace the brigades. Oh, geez, 2 to 5? I'm going to take those odds. And then he's supposed to go over and help out Halleck. Alright, so get the gunboats blocking the roads. Repair these guys. Can he reach? No, I'm going to have to cruise him. I mean, not that it matters. He's going to resupply while he's in port there. Alright, advance on Batesville. I'm sure they've got somebody guarding Batesville. So I'll stay on this side of the river just to be safe. So that's going to do it for the Army of the Mississippi and the Army of the Tennessee. So now I'm back to General Pope's massive Army of the Cumberland here. So since I have the opportunity to upgrade the mortars now, let me go ahead and do that. I will delay the assault on Nashville while I go ahead and reinforce everybody while upgrading the artillery. So let me move General Pope, and hopefully that'll get everybody. Yep, everybody's under his umbrella except for the Kentucky Cavalry Division. Alright, so that moves us over to West Virginia, Western Virginia. Do I want to try and advance? Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. If nothing else, maybe the computer will react and send a unit up this way. That's one less one I got here in the Shenandoah Valley. Let's take the odds. Keep the pressure on. Oh, we may get him. Yep, let's go for it. Oh, yeah. All right, so an upgraded division wiped out. Definitely, that was worth it. And that gets us right up against Harrisonburg again. Nope, I can't move McDowell. I gotta remember there's that rebel unit spawn point right there. Okay, so going back to Northern Virginia, we'll go ahead and wipe out Anderson's division since they were kind enough to hand it to me on a silver platter. And now let's cause a little bit of a crisis among the Confederate forces by advancing 3rd Corps. I don't know if they can actually see him up there. All right, so repair Ozark Mountain Division. And let's advance across the Brandywine. Set up for a assault on Culpeper next turn. All right, do I want to move in there? He's only a 4. Let's do some more damage to him. All right, so an infantry division and an infantry brigade this turn. 2 infantry divisions, counting the one over here in the Shenandoah Valley. Not a bad day. Yeah, I'm going to advance up on the Wilderness. All right, so that puts a lot of pressure on Fredericksburg now. So it looks like we're set up for Culpeper next turn. Moving over here to Tidewater. Let's see if that infantry corps is still in Plymouth. Can't see it. Oh, there we go. Yep. All right, so back across the river. All right, I think that's going to about do it. Yep, that is going to do it for operational and combat movement. Back to research. We got 200 points back again for the mortars advancing. So let me go ahead and put that 200 back into spying and intelligence. Speed that up as best I can. And then purchases. I'd love to purchase the Marine Corps Division. I believe that's going to make the 4th one, isn't it? 2nd, 1st, 3rd, and Farragut Marines. Yep. I number the Marines instead of naming them because it just makes it easier for me to realize which ones are the Marines and which ones are the regular Army infantry. All right, so that is going to do it for my production points available. That is going to do it for this episode. Ran a little bit long. Thanks again, everybody that's tuned in. Don't forget to drop a like and drop a comment. It helps fight the YouTube algorithm, helps grow the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We're up to 64 subscribers. We're still on track for that 100 subscribers by 2030. So, and then also hit that notification bell if you like what we're doing here and you want to be notified. I'm going to try and get another episode out tomorrow, if not today, taking advantage of the Memorial Day weekend. So thanks again, and we will see you on the next one.